As the teen brain's developing, and you introduce drugs and alcohol, you're willing to take more and more risk, right? So you start to go and try different things and experiment. So we're trying to get them before that happens.
Well, tonight, teens and drugs, they never mix, right? We continue our month-long coverage of fentanyl's fatal fallout.
So there's a lot of focus right now on vaping and those wax pens, super popular among teenagers, but now schools have been gearing up to fight something, as we just heard with the story of those officers, something so much more powerful and deadly.
911, do you need police, fire, or medical?
I need medical. My 17-year-old son is unresponsive.
Last month, a Scottsdale high schooler almost died.
He's sweating, he's unresponsive, we can't wake him up.
The 17-year-old from Notre Dame Prep OD'd.
Okay, hurry.
It took several doses of Narcan to bring him back.
This could have had a much more tragic outcome.
The close call, a wake-up call for parents.
I'm not only a DEA agent, I'm a father, and I think that when we look and we see the amount of young lives that are being snuffed out behind this, I think that all of us as Americans should be very concerned.
Numbers from Scottsdale PD show drug-related incidents skyrocketed last year at Cactus Shadows, Desert Mountain, and Coronado high schools. Nearly every one of them involved synthetic opioids. The teen at Notre Dame Prep took a pill laced with fentanyl. Police say he bought it from a 16-year-old student who was arrested.
There is no possible way for somebody to know exactly what's in a tablet when they're going to take it.
The DEA calls it the worst drug epidemic they've ever seen.
We're seeing more fentanyl come down here.
Down south near the border, the Tucson Unified School District is not taking any chances.
I wanted to make sure if we could even save one life that we would go about that.
Nikki Stefan is the district's director of health services. She says staff at all 85 campus health offices are trained to give Narcan because there's no time to waste with an overdose.
We only have 4 minutes before death.
Her message is simple but crucial.
Talk to your family, talk to your students. We need to get serious, and we need to have education of health in our schools.
And in the valley at Mesa's Skyline High, this room full of fun and games is part of that conversation. It's a program called Coyote Strong that aims to give kids something better.
We know it's in our community, and we know that it's in our schools, and our job is to intervene, educate, and hopefully prevent.
Principal Tom Brennan says drug prevention efforts have changed dramatically over the years.
We are in a different place than Dare and Just Say No. We don't just try to scare the kids. It's also about informing their self-awareness and their self-management.
Teenagers are naturally risk takers, and so you kind of give them an opportunity to take a risk, and that's just kind of the stage of life that they're at.
If they take a risk with opioids like fentanyl, the nurse's office has Narcan on hand, as do all of Mesa high schools, though it is not required by the state. Talia Shaletsky is a social worker at Skyline who counsels students about drug use.
These kids feel alone. They feel like they're alone, and they need to cope, and they need to figure out things by themselves.
She teaches them about the lasting effects on their developing brains.
It's going to influence their abilities to make decisions, to think rationally, and those things can have real long-term impacts.
A $150,000 grant from the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family, awarded to 38 high schools throughout Arizona this year, funds the Coyote Strong program. Students are actively involved to encourage their peers and refer someone who needs help. The grant money also provides this guy who builds trust with the students. He knows firsthand what they're dealing with.
I got sober about 4 years ago.
Kevin Cleveland is a prevention coach on campus. He also works at Pathway, where fighting the most deadly opioid in the world is now priority number one.
Working at a substance abuse treatment center, we hear from it all the time. Even 13-year-old just a few weeks ago that overdosed on fentanyl, which is not something that I experienced when I was using drugs.
Social media, he says, plays a major role in today's epidemic.
You have these teenagers that are walking around comparing their insides to someone else's outsides. Instagram, all it is someone else's highlight reel. They don't see, the next day when they're, fighting depression or fighting, something going on at home or any of that.
He says it's also a popular way for kids to access the killer pills.
Where did you get it? How'd you hear about it? Well, Snapchat. It happens so quickly, and even with Snapchat, there's no what's evidence behind it disappears, right? So they can talk and communicate.
That's why Coyote Strong focuses on keeping kids busy and supporting them as they face tough choices along the way.
They're looking to find their way, to find their path. And our job as the adults is to help them with a positive path.
Now, aside from that grant money, the Department of Ed says the state also gives Title IV money to schools to help them expand or even create drug prevention programs. And so far this year, only 10 districts applied for those funds.